July is done. I actually thought this month I wouldn't be watching many films except for The Odyssey, but I was proven wrong. I was away in London, but I still managed to squeeze a couple of films in, and here are my thoughts about them. I started off the month with watching Good Luck, Have Fun, Don't Die. This is a film I've been wanting to watch for a while now, actually, after hearing about it. I'm very anti-AI, and this film is definitely right up my alley with the themes and subject matter. This is a comedy film starring Sam Rockwell. It is incredibly relevant to today with its depiction of AI and how people are using AI today. And it'll probably be very relevant in 10 years' time as well. Sam Rockwell did such an awesome job with this role. He brings his own physicality, he brings his own humor to this role. I think he plays the main character very, very well. I really enjoy watching Sam Rockwell. Unfortunately, though, there was no dancing. There was no Sam Rockwell dancing in this one like he typically does in films. I was looking out for it during the film, but it didn't seem to do it. But other than that being a disappointment, because I love dancing, he did a really, really good job in this role. As mentioned, this film is very much against AI, and with me being very much against generative AI, particularly in the arts and that realm of AI that people are using it today, this film was very, very relevant for me, and I absolutely loved how much it was dogging on generative AI. I thought the opening scene of the film really, really set up what to expect with this film. It is superbly written. It's the same writer and director, I believe, of Pirates of the Caribbean, so take that as you will. But it was very, very funny, and I was watching this with my partner, and we were both cracking up laughing, especially with how Sam Rockwell uses the dialogue and just elevates it to 11. It's fantastic, that opening scene. The things that happen in this film I really appreciated because they showed AI, not only generative, but AI in a very negative, almost dystopian, but almost very realistic to where we are at today with AI. And it is very scary for me to know that this is a potential future to go down. It's really shedding a light on how negative the overuse and normalization of AI in a daily life for the human race can be. And I'm really hoping that more people watch this and see what the film has to say on overusing AI and normalizing it for day-to-day tasks, and realize, hang on, maybe I could be doing this myself. And for that, I really commend the film. Not only is it funny, and Sam Rockwell's performance is fantastic in it, it's a very good topic of discussion about AI and where we are at as a human race with it. But yeah, so go watch it, please. It's really, really good. God, I can't believe I'm saying this next one. But after that, I watched Minions and Monsters. What am I doing, man? Anyway, I went into this one thinking it was going to be really cringy and unfunny, and I actually watched this with two of my mates, but we were actually pleasantly proven wrong for the most part. This film is a massive love letter to cinema, which I was not expecting in the slightest. I don't think anyone was expecting it, especially with how the trailer portrayed it. It just portrayed it like a regular Minions film. But this was really pleasant surprise to see, if I'm honest. I can't lie to you guys. I was really appreciative of the references to cinema as a whole, not only to directors and actors and modern films, but also all the way back to Charlie Chaplin, Buster Keaton, Citizen Kane. It was very, very much appreciated from my point of view. I don't know about what anyone else thought or the kids thought, but I really appreciated and dug them actually showing those scenes in black and white and allowing children to realize or show them that there was no color back in film back in the day. So I really liked that as well. Other than that, the story, after all of the references happened, was very Minions generic. There was a few funny scenes here and there. It's not offensively boring. I watched this twice, which is I can't believe I watched this twice. I watched it once with my friends before I went to London, and then I watched it again in London with my partner. I was saying we should go watch Minions. I think you'll really like it, because I really did enjoy seeing the references and stuff. But on second watch, I liked it, but after knowing all of the references and what was going to happen with the film, I did really start to notice the cracks and flaws in the story, especially towards the third half. I thought all the voice acting was great, as always. But other than that, this is a great film for parents and kids, and it was fun. After that, I watched Evil Dead Rise, or should I call this friggin' Diopter Shot Rise, because my God, there were so many used. It was almost comical at times with how many Lee Cronin used these diopter shots. It was crazy. I bring up the diopter shots because, funnily enough, my partner and I watched Toy Story 4 the night prior in anticipation for seeing Toy Story 5 that day. And there was a diopter shot in that film, and it was a very big deal, I remember, because you don't really need to do diopter shots in animation, typically, because there's no actual camera. But the fact that Pixar used that technique in Toy Story 4 was pretty cool, in my opinion. And I was explaining to her what it was and why they use it in cinema. And then we watched Evil Dead Rise, and I was like, hey, I felt like the Leonardo DiCaprio meme, like, I can't whistle, sorry. And I felt like him going, hey, look, there's a diopter shot, but it just kept coming. And I was like, there's another one. And I was like, there's another one. And then there's another one. And it just became really comical with how much it was used in this film. Do I dare say it felt overused? I don't know if Lee Cronin likes to use diopter shots typically, but Jesus, he uses so many in this film. It actually kind of took me out of the film at times, to be honest. However, other than that, I thought that this was a good film that captured the brutality of the original trilogy. However, it didn't catch the signature cheesy comical stuff, unfortunately. I should have expected that, considering this is a more modern Evil Dead film rather than the 80s, early 90s films that Sam Raimi did. But that to me is Evil Dead. You know, it's got that brutality, it's got that horror aspect, but it also has that cheesy comical stuff, and it just didn't deliver. And I really did miss that, unfortunately. However, I thought that Alyssa Sutherland as the Deadite in this film was fantastic. She really played this role incredibly well, not only emotionally trying to manipulate the daughters that she has in the film, but also the physicality that she brings to the performance. I thought that she did a fantastic job, and I can see why she is a bit of a favorite from the fans with this one, and I really, really dug her performance. The subject matter of this film obviously dealt with family, and there was 3 children. I thought they were okay for the most part. I really thought they did a much better job, however, when they were possessed and became Deadites themselves. I thought that they were cast from becoming a Deadite rather than being humans in the film. It was not offensive, but I just remember thinking that them as the Deadites was considerably better than them as humans. Whilst I enjoyed my time with this and I thought it was a fun time, I will probably never ever watch this film again. I have no desire to. I'd much rather watch the original Sam Raimi trilogy. I love Bruce Campbell and the cheesy comical aspect that he brings to the Evil Dead franchise, and it was just lacking in this film, which really disappointed me. Whilst this is an offensively bad film and the gore is great if you love that sort of stuff, I do miss the other aspects that make up Evil Dead, in my opinion, from this film. But it is a good time for a first time watch, and it really does set up Evil Dead Burn in a great way. So if you want to watch Evil Dead Burn, I'd recommend watching Evil Dead Rise first and then go into Evil Dead Burn, because you have a much better understanding of what's going on in that film. After that, I watched The Invite. Ever since watching the trailer for this film, I have been hotly anticipating this one. I'm a big fan of Olivia Wilde, I'm a big fan of Seth Rogen, and I'm a big fan of Edward Norton and Penelope Cruz, and to see them in this film meshing together was just outstanding. It was fantastic to watch. What a great comeback film from Olivia Wilde, though. Olivia Wilde directed this film, in case you didn't know, and she also did Don't Worry Darling in 2022. That film it's juggling too much on its plate, to put it lightly. But this one strips all that silliness back that they had in Don't Worry Darling and really just puts all the aspects that she's good at directing, in my opinion, on full display. For me, Seth Rogen stole the show, however. His comedic timing and delivery was just spot on. There was so many moments in the film that he just elevated for me because of his comedic timing and with the things he said and the way that he said them. He's really been on such a great run this decade, Seth Rogen. He's really progressed forward as an actor, in my opinion, as well. And I'm really pleased for him. And I think that every role he's done this decade for me has really hit, and he's really elevated those moments in not only The Invite, but those other films that he's in. So good on you, Seth. I really love your work, dude. Man, what a great script though. Rashida Jones co-wrote this with her husband, and it is so tight. There is no fluff. There is no moments in this film where I was bored. Everything was written in a way that was relevant and helped progress the story forward. And for that, they should be winning some sort of award, in my opinion. I really hope they get commended on this because it is incredibly well written. I can totally see this being mentioned in award seasons this year, particularly with the script, with its writing for Rashida Jones and her husband, but also with directing, honestly, with Olivia Wilde. I could totally see her getting recognized for this. And I really hope that this film does win something, or at least get recognized, because I believe it truly deserves it. It is a fantastic comedy, and it is incredibly funny throughout, and it's very emotional and heartfelt at the same time. I think it's a superbly done film, and should definitely go check it out. After that, I watched Supergirl. I don't know where to begin with this one, but I have a lot to say, so let's do it. Right off the bat, I'm going to tell you a story. So I've actually seen this film twice now. I saw it once before I went away when it first came out in July, and I saw it once again in London with my partner. Now, the reason why I saw it again was not only to watch it with her, but because my first viewing experience was actually ruined, unfortunately, due to some very noisy and obnoxious teenagers in the back row, who I very unpolitely, about halfway through the film, asked them to shut up, because I really think that sometimes people just need to hear that, particularly in theaters, and I'm really disappointed with where theater etiquette is going. But that's beside the point. I might make another video on theater etiquette and my thoughts on that. But if you're one of those people, don't do that in the theater. It sucks to visit when people are like that, so please don't be like that. But I did see this film twice, and on second viewing, I felt I got a much better understanding of the film. And right off the bat, this is incredibly mediocre. It's so mediocrely done, and I was expecting more, particularly from James Gunn producing it, but also Craig Gillespie as director, you know, acclaimed director of Cruella, I, Tonya. And it's just disappointing that this film was just so mediocrely done, in my opinion. I thought that Millie Alcock, huge standout as Supergirl. She is perfectly cast. She understands Kara incredibly well, and the suit looks great on her. It looks so good, and the way that the suit is done in this film is incredibly comic accurate from my understanding, and that is big props to the costume department. They did an outstanding job with this suit, not only hers, but other characters in the film that I'll mention later on. But yeah, the costume aspect of this film and the costume department of this film, great job. Jason Momoa as Lobo was also very good, but was he needed in this film? I really don't think Lobo served the story at all. Everything just sort of happened around him, and it felt like to me they already had the story outlined and almost written, and then James was like, we need to have Lobo in. I promised Jason Momoa he would be playing Lobo, so we got to add him in. We can't fit him in Superman, so we got to put him in here. And it just felt like he was there just as a cameo or a fan casting that had been paid off years and years after campaigning from fans. And don't get me wrong, I really thought he did a great job, and I can totally see him being Lobo again in the future, but he did nothing for this film. He didn't serve it at all. He didn't progress the story at all, and he's a supporting character that was just there. David Corenswet is in this film as Superman, and those are some of the best moments of the film for me. David Corenswet as Superman is one of the greatest casting choices of this decade, in my opinion, and those scenes between him and Millie were outstandingly done, and they really capture Kara and Cal's relationship very, very well. And so I really appreciated those scenes. I'm reading my script here, and the next point is pretty universally said from what I'm hearing online. I got to say it as well because it's exactly what I thought, and it's exactly what my partner thought as well. But Krem is such a boring, one-dimensional bad guy that will be forgotten about. Like, he rivals Malekith, I think, in Thor: The Dark World for me, with how boring and unsubstantial he is for the larger world. Actually, I would even say Malekith in Thor: The Dark World, mind you, not a great film, but even he did more than Krem did. Krem was just so boring, man. Also, why the fuck did they make Krem look like that? In the comic for Supergirl, they made him look like me. To put it plainly, he looks like me. He looks like a normal human being. And so when you find out all of the horrible acts that he does, it is quite shocking. I expect those to be done by a monster or someone that's very much deranged, to the point where you can see that in its design, such as the Joker. But in the comics, he just looks like a normal human being. And so the fact that they took that away from the film and did make him look the way he did in the film really dampens the effect of that moment where you find out the horrible acts that he does. I think that that was a massive oversight on the costume departments. I know I gave them their props for the costumes before, but I don't know if it was them that decided this change or if it was Craig Gillespie or whoever, but it was the wrong choice. And Krem does not look good in this film. He is also, as mentioned before, very boring and one-dimensional as well, which sucks. He's just your generic bad guy and he has no depth to him whatsoever, and he will not be remembered at all. This is something I found very interesting as well with watching with my partner. She's incredibly intelligent, and she brought up to me how women being oppressed in superhero films particularly is such a lazy writing choice. I remember thinking I never thought about that before, but it is so true. The only female-led superhero films, correct me if I'm wrong, in recent years that I can remember was Wonder Woman, the both of them. I've never seen the second one. I don't intend to. Black Widow, and now Supergirl. Let me know in the comments if there's more. But when I was discussing this with her, Black Widow and Wonder Woman came up, and it really showcased to me how accurate that sentence was. Because in Black Widow, the Black Widows are oppressed. Their whole body and autonomy is taken away from them by Dreykov, who is using them to basically be his minions. And then in this film, it has a whole subplot of Krem and his bad guys. I can't remember. They're so forgettable. I can't even remember their names. That they oppress and they take these young girls and use them to continue their all-male race line. It wasn't very well done either. They very quickly brushed over it, unfortunately. And she also brought that up to me as well. And she did a bit of research online, and it looks like a lot of other women online feel that way after watching the film. It really made me appreciate going to the movies with her, because it showed an insight that I never picked up on first viewing. And to be fair to me, I probably didn't pick up on it because I had those loud, obnoxious teenagers in the film, so I was getting distracted by them. God, they were annoying. I appreciate her a lot for showing that to me, so thank you. But yeah, it was so true how much that happens in superhero films, and I agree with it. It is very, very lazy to do that in a superhero female-led film, and so I was very disappointed by the script. The story is also very trope-heavy in this script. Look, and that's not a bad thing. Tropey stuff can be fun if it's done well. However, this is not interestingly done at all. I remember watching it, especially on second viewing, and just going, my lord, this is so poorly and boringly executed. And I really hope moving forward that this isn't what DC does with their films. As I mentioned, I don't mind tropey stuff at all. I think it can be done incredibly well. Great films of this, past decade alone are incredibly tropey, but when they're done well, that's all that matters to me. However, this one is done very poorly, and I'm really hoping moving forward that DC doesn't do that sort of stuff. I will give the script props for this though. There is one scene which I absolutely adored in this film, and that is between Millie Alcock and David Krumholtz speaking Kryptonian on Krypton before it gets destroyed. I found it very, very, very well written, and it really mirrors the relationship that Superman and his father from Krypton have in the shows and the prior works, movies, and comics that we have seen. However, in this DC universe, Superman's father sent him off to be a conqueror of the worlds, and I really liked that they still had that relationship in this film with Kara instead of Superman. Instead of David Krumholtz's character Zor-El sending her off to be a conqueror like Jor-El did with Kal-El. Are you keeping up with the names here? I really appreciated that. I know that was a big point of contention in Superman, how they changed his origin story. Instead of being a savior of the world, he was sent to be a conqueror. But this one did a really great job with sending Kara off and do that and using her powers for good rather than conquering. And I just appreciated that. That is something I really liked. And I thought not only the script was very well written for that particular moment, but I thought David Krumholtz especially did a fantastic job really portraying those emotional scenes with Millie. Something I just wanted to say before moving on. I think it's very important to say, whilst this film for me didn't work all the time necessarily, I did think Millie Alcock did a fantastic job, as well as Jason Momoa as Lobo, and the other scenes with Kara's father, and of course David Corenswet's Superman. I thought that this film was very boring. It didn't work for me overall. However, just because I didn't like a film particularly much doesn't mean I'm going to go online and belittle and degrade the main cast member for this film. Unfortunately, the so-called fans have the past month been using this film's failure as a way of showing how much of a sexist that they are. I've seen some horrible, horrible posts, particularly about Millie's appearance, which I just think is awful to do. I could never imagine doing that. And it's really disappointing because these are so-called fans of DC. And if you were a fan of DC, you would not be doing this. Millie is not the problem with this film. She uses this script to the best of her ability and she does it incredibly well. It is not her fault that the script was boring and the story was boring. That is not up to her. So do not make fun of her. And honestly, if that's you, fuck you, man. Like, fuck you, guys. You are absolutely horrible sexist pieces of shit, in my opinion. And you really do not deserve to call yourself a fan. After that, I watched Evil Dead Burn, and I really liked this one. I really enjoyed this much more than Evil Dead Rise, because the Deadites were a lot more manipulative than they normally are. And they're a lot more psychologically abusive in ways that we've never seen before. And I really dug that aspect of the film. My God, some of the camera work and the way they film stuff and the shots in this film are so cleverly done. I do not want to spoil any of them for you. Go check it out and you'll see exactly what I mean. This film has the usual gory Evil Deadness of the original films and even Evil Dead Rise, but it also captures the cheesiness of the original films more than Evil Dead Rise did for me. I thought that was a really, really great aspect to the film, and I really enjoyed how funny the grandma in this film was. Also, this film reminded me a lot of Resident Evil 7. If you've played Resident Evil 7, particularly with the Baker family, you'll know exactly what I'm talking about, and the whole film basically takes place in a singular house as well. So I have no idea if this was an inspiration for the director or the screenwriters at all, but if it is, I can totally see the vision, and I think it really worked in the Evil Dead world, and I really like that aspect of it, especially because I am a big Resident Evil fan. Nothing will beat Evil Dead 2 for me, but I enjoyed this film a hell of a lot more than Evil Dead Rise. I love the callbacks to the original Evil Dead films, and I'm also really excited to see what Evil Dead Wrath is going to be like and where they go after this one, particularly with how the film ends. And if you're a big Evil Dead fan, I think we've got something to look forward to in the future with Evil Dead Wrath. So definitely check this one out. I really enjoyed it. And if you love super gory, comical cheesiness at times, definitely check out the Evil Dead franchise. I think you'd really, really love it. After that, my partner and I watched Big. We wanted to watch a film that neither one of us had seen before, and we actually landed on Big. Man, this film is so funny. It's so funny. Even in 2026, it is hilarious, especially Tom Hanks and the physical aspects he brings to this role of playing a kid in an adult's body. All the physical mannerisms, to his walking, to his talking, to his looking around, just reminded me of younger family members that I see at family gatherings and how they move, and it's really spot on, and I really dug that aspect of the film. Of course, there's the famous piano scene as well, which was just awesome to see finally in context of the film. And I just think that this is just a really nice story that didn't take itself too seriously, and it is very funny. And it's also about enjoying childhood years and not wanting to grow up too quickly. And I thought that that still is very relevant to today with kids. You know, kids are wanting to grow up way too fast, and then before you know it, when they're an adult, they wish they were a kid again. And I really like that aspect of the film, and I thought that this was a great watch. I know I don't have much to say on this one, but it's just a really, really, really fun and really well-made film. And if you want to check out something that's a good, heartfelt story, go check out Big. It's a lot of fun. And to end the month off, I saw The Odyssey in BFI IMAX in London. I was very, very lucky to secure those seats for my partner and I, and that is on 70mm film. It was, long story short, I want to make a video about my more in-depth thoughts because there's a lot. Basically, my whole page here is the Odyssey for like a page and a half of thoughts. So I want to make a longer video dedicated to that. So that should be out soon. So definitely check that out when it's there. And with that, that's everything I watched in July. It was a big month, a lot more than I thought I would be watching, if I'm honest. I really only thought I'd be watching the Odyssey. I also did get to watch Project Hail Mary again in BFI IMAX on 70mm. That was pretty awesome. You already know my thoughts. Nothing changed. It was just the optimal way to view this film on the IMAX screen on film. It was absolutely breathtaking at times. Some of that cinematography from Craig Gillespie. What a massive month for film though, July. Crazy, crazy summer blockbusters came out. Honestly, 2026 has been a great year for film for me personally. I think it's been awesome. Some really big highlights for this decade. I want to hear your thoughts though on if you saw anything, and if so, what did you think? Please let me know in the comments below. Thank you very much for watching. Have a great rest of your month, and I'll see you in the next one.